Uncommonwealth.
I remain Marmaduke.
I don't think Beatles invented the word mania.
So the mother
Well-
had to be pretty hot.
The bottles were labeled Old Smuggler, Gaelic whiskey.
As
Yeah.
long as women
You
don't
just-
drive, I'm fine with anything.
This is your chance, Piers. You haven't said shit all day.
Oh, you don't
Could I
take
have
it?
one weed, please?
Commonwealth, Commonwealth, the former empire, now Commonwealth. Is it relevant? Probably not. But why not give this part a shot? Stay tuned. Here comes Uncommonwealth, the podcast.
And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Uncommonwealth podcast studio. My name is Jimmy HVD, and I'm here, as always, with my amazing co-hosts Adam Mueller, Piers Morton, and Katherine Rawlinson. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Oh, yeah. Okay.
You're doing a
Going
Piers
versus-
there, Katherine.
I heard a small request on the last episode from one of you, and I think we should do another episode of Sub Prime Minister.
Sub-prime ministers are less than good. Not in their prime, they blew it. Sub-prime ministers are less than good. It's time for sub-prime ministers.
Your favorite, and always one to get me tripped up on the facts, but I've realized whatever segment I do, I usually don't have the facts correct. So why not do one about a prime minister? This one, I actually had some interest in talking about Justin Trudeau. And then I was like, well, you know what? In order to accurately talk about Justin Trudeau, we really have to go back to the beginning, which is not really the beginning, but it's his father, Pierre Elliot
Pierre.
Trudeau.
Oh,
I know, right?
E.E.T..
Talk about nepotism.
Catherine, when you-
that's
when you
that's
said-
Piers in French, by the way.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh,
I thought Piers was Piers in French.
The way I pronounced it, I thought was the way.
Yeah, I'm still
I
waiting
was
to know
the
what's
name
the
in
English
French.
version of Pierce. That's
Right.
interesting.
Okay.
Pierre Morton.
No.
So.
Pierre Valentine Marmaduke Morton.
Oh yeah, you have. Is that your middle name?
I was one argument away from being called Valentine.
But he was called Marmaduke.
Marmaduke, still currently Marmaduke. I remain Marmaduke.
I forgot to name my child that.
Oh, had you thought of Arthur before we mentioned it?
Yes, yeah. Oh, did we mention it? I don't even remember.
I'm pretty sure that was us.
I'm pretty sure it was us.
I love that we're claiming credit. She's like, wait, you guys said that? Sorry,
There's
Katherine.
Okay.
one argument
Distracted
away
you,
from
by the
being Merlin.
I think I thought about mongoose for a while. Okay, so the 15th Prime Minister of Canada was Pierre Elliot Trudeau. So he was Prime Minister for 15 years. That's a long
Wow.
time.
That is
But
a
it's
very
only
long
the
time.
third longest serving Prime Minister behind Mackenzie King and John A. Macdonald. But he was a very popular guy. I'm sure, Adam, you heard good things growing up in the Canadian.
We had like Trudeau jokes when I was a kid.
Really?
What
do you
were
have those,
they? Please
Katherine?
do
Like-
tell.
Well, it'd be like, you know how some people have like blonde jokes, or they'll instead of blonde, it might be some ethnicity. Or like, and there were Newfie jokes in Canada. Like
Yeah, I
people
know
from
what you mean,
Newfoundland.
though. You're saying he was that common and synonymous that he'd be it'd be a running butt of jokes.
It'd be like, how do you
Yeah, he
confuse
is.
Pierre Trudeau? Put him in a round room and tell him to find a
Yeah.
corner. You know, it was like blonde jokes, but you'd say Trudeau instead. And we were all in fourth, fifth grade, so we didn't even really know anything. But everyone told Trudeau jokes.
Trudeau was pretty famous.
That's how
I
Adam
think.
got into stand-up comedy. It was just there at the
Trudeau joke.
during lunchtime, like, hey guys, what do you get when you cross Trudeau with a mermaid?
Well, anyway, sometimes I do not know how to get back into segments smoothly. Anyway, guys, Trudeau he was that famous. Like, I think internationally as well. There was even something called Trudeau mania that apparently came back into
Like Beatlemania, but
right. Was that was that the original mania?
I don't think Beatles invented the word mania.
As
It
soon as I
pre-exists.
said it, I was like, fuck.
Yes, that
Okay.
time the whole world was obsessed with young
Elvis
Beatles.
invented mania for sure, not the Beatles.
Okay, so but that was the nickname that was given to the kind of obsession of especially like young women in the 1960s.
I was
with
just about to
Trudeau.
ask, was it because he's also strikingly handsome like Justin?
was.
Was that the mania?
Not
Was he?
later in life. He kind of
Justin's a better looking
very
guy
handsome.
than his dad, though.
So the mother
Well-
had to be pretty hot.
Isn't the mother a model?
Oh, there you go.
Good question.
I think
Let me go to my Margaret Sinclair. All I know, I believe a model didn't really do much else. They got divorced eventually, but she was 22 years younger than him. So good looking model or not, better looking probably than him when they married. That's Justin's mother. Trudeau must have been pretty good looking because he actually dated Barbara Streisand. Not that it for a while. Like he was like in the Hollywood scene.
Wow.
Didn't he date or was involved or connected somehow to one of Mick Jagger's girlfriends or wives at some stage?
Oh, really?
Like he was a hitter, Trudeau.
Yeah, he was. And I think like looks, Justin Trudeau might be more technically good looking now, but I also just think the pictures weren't as good.
That's true, Catherine. They didn't have those high def cameras back then.
But I can't find a picture of Trudeau that I think is really striking. But apparently, everything you read is that he was a really striking guy.
It caused mania.
Yeah.
So wait, everything you read says he's striking, but you cannot find photographic evidence to confirm.
Maybe I just don't think he's that good looking.
Okay.
But I think he was charismatic too. Like Trudeau, Justin Trudeau might be better looking, but he's not as charismatic. He's kind of awkward, in my opinion.
Justin is awkward?
Yeah.
Looking or just in his movements and
Good looking, awkward, not a great speaker. Like Pierre Trudeau was eloquent, charismatic. Like that was, I think, the thing with him is he just like.
Have you not seen Justin's potty trick though, where he falls down a flight of stairs
while wearing blackface?
Oh.
Now that's a trick. Okay. We need a video of that, I think, Pierre, whatever.
I agree. It is hard to find a picture of Pierre where he's like young.
Good.
I think the pictures of him as an older gentleman.
I think he lost his hair.
They didn't have cameras. That's what I tried.
Have you tried searching for like a painting or a sketch or something?
There he is in a Canadian tuxedo.
Oh yeah.
But he had a gap kind of in his tooth. I'm not a.
That was cool back in the 60s, wasn't it?
Anyway, but the other thing with Trudeau mania is that he was like a counterculture guy. So he was an intellectual. He went to Harvard. That's not
okay. Well, is that what you like, Catherine? Waiting for that to come
not
up.
The undergrad. So it's not really that impressive.
He went to Harvard, but not the good version like me.
No.
Wait, you went to Harvard undergrad, didn't you?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Not. Fuck you guys. This is. I can't keep this on track.
Okay, we won't interrupt.
Well, I don't have much else to say.
We're 32 minutes into the segment, by the way.
No, but he was an intellectual. He was left wing. And guys, this most exciting thing is that during the Nixon years.
Okay.
All right.
Which to clarify could be.
Now I know why you did this segment.
Any point in the 17th, 18th, 19th, or 20th century.
Which is before photography.
During the Nixon years, he did not have a good relationship with Nixon because Nixon was more right wing.
Because Nixon was actually Eisenhower.
Okay. Anyway, and then Jimmy Carter became president, and because Trudeau was prime minister for so long, that ended up actually really repairing a lot of the damage between the U.S. and Canada and the relation. So, because they were more aligned policy-wise. But yeah, so what I was saying is the counterculture that contributed to Trudeau mania was he was good looking, but it was also that he was quite leftist. It was like he sympathized with Marxists. He was like a socialist guy, and that was trendy at the time.
It was a big deal that he was like French Canadian, and he was prime minister during the kind of initial biggest surge in Quebec, the Quebec independence movement with some I don't remember what it was called, but in the 70s there was that kidnapping terrorists thing in Canada.
How close did it ever get to?
It got pretty tense. It was a pretty big deal.
Did they ever put it to a vote?
There has been. Subsequent to that, there has been a referendum. Wow. It was very close.
There are a couple Scottish ones too that have been very close lately.
close enough that you have this debate of like, if they wanted to secede, how do you allocate like the national debt? How
Right.
do you think about
I
military?
remember
Like
that.
the logistics of it are just a nightmare. So thankfully they didn't get there. But
I mean, that's
They did just take
interesting
the English approach and just say, "Fuck it, who cares about the minutia of working that out? We'll just agree to the deal and sort it out later."
Yeah.
So that's interesting historically, but I decided to go down a different rabbit hole, which was
one's hot and one's not.
Who's better looking? No.
Fuck, marry, kill
found
within
out
the
that
Trudeau family.
I found out that there was a board game invented called Trudeau Mania, but it was spelled true and then dough as in Play-Doh and then mania. And I just really like this board game. I can't imagine it was very popular, but the winner, it was called A Game of Chance Where You Have No Chance, released in 1982, didn't sell that well. And in the game, each player is the owner of a Canadian business, the dream of everyone. And on some squares, the player is required to draw a cabinet shuffle or a constitution card. And the winner is the first player to lose all of their company's assets to the federal government.
Sounds like a terrible game.
Just the worst concept for a game. It's so Canadian and boring. Anyway, I don't think he was that sub. He was a very cool guy, and
Sounds solid.
he's solid, even though we don't go into policies ever on this.
I like how you wait till the end and then you're like, he wasn't that sub.
From a brief internet search, it looks like he dated the floozy from Sex and the City.
Which one?
Which
Kim
floozy?
Cattrall.
Wait, which Trudeau?
Oh, the elder Pierre.
Oh, wow, good for him.
French
He
Pierce.
was known as
French
a swinger
Pierce.
too, like apparently, and hence maybe the divorce. And then he had a child in another marriage, but no one talks about that.
Oh,
Okay, wow. This is
Wow.
You left out all the fun stuff, Catherine.
Save that for the end.
This is scandalous.
I
Let's
got
lose that. Let's not
interrupted.
lose that in the edit. That's some gold right there.
Yeah.
Uncommonwealth.
There's this interesting news article I read, and it made me. But before I get into the actual article, I want to provide a little bit of context using Two Truths and a Lie. So,
God.
so Two Truths and a
I'm
Lie
confused already.
about prohibition. So I'm going to give you three things. You tell me which two are true and which is a lie about prohibition. Fact one: prohibition in the United States started in 1920 and ended in 1933. Fact two: prohibition in Iceland started in 1915 and ended in 1933, but beer was still prohibited until 1989.
What?
Fact three: prohibition in Nigeria, a British colony at the time, started in 1890 and ended in 1939.
So you're saying in Iceland they had a prohibition on beer until 1989? You're saying?
Yes.
No, that can't be true.
Okay, so is that the one
Can't
that's a
be.
lie, Jimmy?
Are we playing by regulation Two Truth and a Lie rules
Play the
here?
way we always do.
So
It never changes.
they're all true then, I say.
Yes, they're all true.
Are they really?
So here's the article
Wow.
that I read. This was the headline. Our walls are built of booze. New York couple finds bootlegged whiskey during home repairs. So in upstate New York, this couple like ripped down a wall in a really old house and found like dozens of whiskey bottles dating back to the 1920s hidden in their walls and floorboards.
Wow.
So they
Wow.
assume that at some point, like a Prohibition era bootlegger lived in the
Kennedys.
house. Yeah, maybe. And
That's
what was
crazy.
cool is like they showed a picture of the label on these whiskey bottles. So the bottles were labeled Old Smuggler Gaelic whiskey.
That's
What a
great.
great name, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Old Smuggler. And apparently they're very of high purity in
Ooh.
terms of
This
whiskey.
is the old smuggler is similar to how Pierce told us that Jack Morgan's is named after that Captain Jack, the fellow who
Yes.
what was that? That's that strange
Mhm.
port in the
Famous
the
bootlegger that-
Caribbean area. Yeah.
That defended Port Royal.
I remember that segment.
Wow, you seem so proud.
the fact that we were all proud is an issue.
Now I'm glad that prohibition happened in the U.S. because without prohibition, we wouldn't have had the Untouchables,
The Untouchables, great.
and we wouldn't have Sean Connery.
R.I.P. Sean. So Sean.
Yes. Now here's another interesting thing about prohibition. Do you know how it's like legally? Do you know what started it?
No.
The 18th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was to make alcohol illegal.
What was the catalyst or kind of motivation? Was it just conservative special interest groups in the country, like religious groups or something similar, pushing?
I'm glad you asked that, Jimmy, because I'm prepared for that one.
I set him up, Adam, and you knock him down.
Well, what's interesting is that it's not a coincidence that prohibition in the U.S. started the same year that women were given the right to vote. It was a conservative Protestant.
Were they worried that if
type.
women got drunk, they wouldn't vote correctly?
Well, it was just seen. There was this view.
What's the connection?
That alcohol led to bad behavior and violence and things. And
which is fair. That's a fair view.
Women being
but I'm
against
confused.
violence.
Well, what's the voting got to do with it?
Well, all of a sudden there was there was a constituency that could vote on laws that didn't exist before
Right.
that. So guys, like if it was just men voting, the government may never have had the voting public may never have been like with the government to execute prohibition. But all of a sudden, you add all these people are now eligible voters.
Who had their
You
drunk
have to
husbands coming home and
beating them and
dickheads.
stuff. So
Yeah.
the women,
So
Oh
it's-
my God. I
not a
love
coincidence.
that.
Here's the other interesting thing, though, is that
I
prohibition
don't wanna
started
move
with
on.
Catherine
Okay.
just wants to bask in
Well,
the
I just don't
power
wanna-
the women yielded
Yeah.
in the early
That's
80s.
really cool. And I mean,
yeah.
like I had no idea. I mean, imagine how excited. I wonder if like there was a backlash at home because like was prohibition widely like did it actually reduce drinking or did it just make it go
Absolutely,
underground?
because
Yeah.
well, it pushed it underground, but like anything that goes underground, not everyone does it. Some people
It made the actual drinks being consumed more dangerous because they were had to be sort of basically
Right.
brewed in the woods under
or in Canada, or
in
smuggled
Canada.
across the
Catherine,
border.
it's similar to the fact that no one does any illegal drugs like marijuana or
Right.
cocaine. Like,
I just
Or
want to
ill-
say
or
on
like
that note,
or like illegal indoor open mics, for example.
yes,
They exist when they're prohibited, but less people do them. But here's something to your point though, Catherine. Here's something really interesting: is during coronavirus on March 27th of this year, during coronavirus, South Africa put prohibition into place.
no shit, really.
And the
Wow.
purpose was to prevent like drunken fights and reduce domestic
and
violence,
domestic
stop drunk
violence,
driving.
which has gone way up in COVID, or like
Well,
apparently
well,
it's been because there's no escape.
But they also
Right.
viewed that like 40% of all emergency hospital admissions in South Africa were related to alcohol, and that creates a big
Wow.
COVID risk.
Yep.
It overwhelms the hospitals already,
Wow.
and
I
creates,
think that was
you know,
a big part of the motivation here for the curfews.
like a 10 p.m.
simply
curfew.
just to
Everyone's
stop
like, "Oh,
people
COVID doesn't
drinking."
stop at 10 p.m." And no, it doesn't. But but
But if you stop
having
people
less-
drinking, it stops
yes.
all the other at-risk behavior.
bad
Yeah.
decisions escalate.
I also get a kick out of the fact that when people talk about, regardless of your view on gun control, some people are like, "You can't change the Constitution." I'm like, "Well, we said no drinking in the Constitution, and then like 13 years later, we said we can drink again, and those were both constitutional amendments."
Yeah.
So clearly, you can do that if you want to. I'll bet you if we gave women 2 votes each, maybe we could ban guns. Did you see what I just did there? That's going to be edited out. 'Cause it wasn't.
We don't want to lose
long
our
as
NRA
women-
funding.
As
Yeah.
long as women
We
don't
just-
drive, I'm fine with anything.
It's cool though that they ripped their wall down and found all that whiskey. Also, Catherine, just so you know, I'm no longer allowed to laugh at jokes that involve women not being allowed to drive.
But he's
That's
still
the new-
allowed to make them.
That's our prohibition.
Maybe 10 years ago now, my parents were doing renovations in their house, and they ripped down the ceiling in the basement to get to some wires, and like a huge garbage bag of weed fell out of the ceiling.
Whoa.
No.
Wow.
That's so Canadian.
And I get a call
That's
from my
great.
mom to tell me this, and then she says, "Your brother says it wasn't his. It was probably the construction crew that was like doing, back when we had the
Oh
ceiling."
yeah, classic.
And I was like,
Mueller
wait,
answer.
aren't you going to ask me if it was mine? And she's like, no.
Out
No
of the
way it was
square.
yours. You
Do
weren't
you
cool
suspect
enough.
your brother?
No.
All right. I was
Oh.
about to say that.
I guess
This
I
is-
assume it was. I don't know anything about weed really, but I assume if it was in the ceiling for 10 years, it probably was rotten or gone bad. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it go bad?
It does go bad.
It does go bad.
I don't know anything about weed either. As evidenced by just the other day, I asked a friend, "Did you just take weed?"
Nah.
Oh, you don't
Could I
take
have
it?
one weed, please?
I am so lame. Okay.
I
I would
went
like
into
to
a-
buy one drugs.
I went into a dispensary one time and the woman would like just almost threw me out. I was so clueless.
What'd you say?
Well, I was like, Jimmy, I was like, can I have one weed, please?
I would like to purchase a one drug,
What is your finest weed?
top shelf.
1 unit of weed, please.
One unit of weed, please.
I always have like a weird, I don't know, I was going to say fantasy. I don't know what word you'd use, but that idea of we're moving into a house and finding some ancient buried something from 100 years ago that's been hidden away. And you're like, some cool piece of history.
We found some really old newspapers when we moved in and they did some initial renovations. Someone had just stuffed newspapers in one of the walls, probably as like thinking it was insulation or something.
Yeah.
But like, you know, you could read some of the dates with like 1911.
Whoa.
You know,
Wow.
Globe and Mail, like stuff like that.
Titanic was happening in a
Yeah.
moment.
Good for you, Jimmy.
There was a butcher shop a while back in the 90s in Germany, and the guy found when he did renovations, basically all the installation was original music by Beethoven.
I assumed there was going to be a Nazi
Whoa.
thing.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
Just so he sold the music to the guy so that he could eat, and the guy had nothing to do with it. You know, no plans for original Beethoven music, so he just used it to insulate his walls.
Wow.
All right, yeah, just a quiet wow. Forgot that.
Nothing wrong with a quiet wow. That was a cool fact.
A quiet
Quiet
wow.
wow.
That's an episode title.
I feel like your threshold for success is so high, Pierce.
No. If only,
I thought I had a heater, guys.
to
I was coming in hot with that one. This is your chance, Piers. You haven't said shit all day. You are going to stop them dead. You're going to build it up for your segment. They're going to be on this edge of their seats. Wow.
Like the Empire, we're almost done. We hope that you've had lots of fun. Was it relevant? Probably not. But thanks for giving this part a shot. Stay tuned for the end of Uncommonwealth, the podcast. Stay tuned for Uncommon Takes.
I just like how you can always fake the same level of enthusiasm. Like,
Oh, yeah. Practice makes perfect, baby.
just like watching you host. You're just
From hosting so many shows. Sometimes you're in a good mood. Sometimes you're in a terrible mood, but you still got to be like, oh, happy to be here. Oh, good to see you.
Just like sex.
Just,
sex. Yeah.
I pretend.
You can
saying,
imagine
"Good to
how
see you."
inconsistent my performances are.
Uncommonwealth.
So is this the Canada's version of George H.W. and George W. Bush?
George Senior.
No, I think because they're both of our guys can read.
The podcast.
When did Trudeau's submarine sink? When they opened the screen door.
What?
That literally is a bad joke. They've just reconstituted to be about Trudeau.
Absolutely.
Uncommonwealth.
Apparently that he was kind of reputed as like a party guy and a swinger, and then he married this woman that was 22 years younger and was like, oh, it's going to be a good time marriage. And what's they thought happened, obviously no one knows for sure, but he's actually an intellectual and he was like working really long hours and she got bored because that's how women be.
Did you just say that Trudeau was a swinger? Are we breaking
He was
news?
reputed as a
Is this
swinger.
like
And she expected him to be a swinger, but he was boring.
oh
Oh.
Uncommonwealth, the podcast.